Let's take the front wheel off of a 2017 BMW R9T Scrambler. My info comes from the Haynes Manual for this bike, but I'll be elaborating on some things that they missed and what their small black and white photos don't show. Some tools you'll need: Torx T30, T40, T50 bits for a torque wrench, a 12mm hex bit for a torque wrench, and I just got this bit on Amazon that's made for motorcycle axles. For the 9T, we'll be using the 22mm hex. Start off by getting your bike centered with your stand of choice. I'm using an ABBA superbike stand. And this little trick is to prevent the brake pads from moving during this procedure. On the left side fork, find the bolt securing the wheel speed sensor and the 2 bolts securing the left brake caliper. And on the right side fork, there are 2 bolts securing the right brake caliper. Start by unbolting the wheel speed sensor with a Torx T30 bit on the left fork and gently pull the wire out of the clip. Then remove the left brake caliper with the Torx T50 bit. Move over to the right side and remove the right brake caliper. Use straps, bungees, zip ties, or string and secure your brake calipers to the headers or frame. Just don't let them hang by the brake lines. I used some masking tape to prevent scratching the headers. Locate the axle clamp bolts. There's 2 at the bottom of each fork. Loosen them up with a Torx T40 bit. You don't need to remove them all the way. On the bottom of the left fork, locate the axle bolt. This is a 12mm hex. And at the bottom of the right fork is where you'll need a 22mm hex. While holding the 22mm hex, loosen the axle bolt with the 12mm hex. With everything loosened up, I'm going to jack up the front of the bike using a standard floor jack. Be sure to use some wood to protect the oil pan. You only need to get the wheel off the ground a little bit. I screwed the axle bolt back in just by a few threads. Then I'll push on it to start getting the axle out on the right side. Unscrew the axle bolt and come over to the right side of the bike. Support the wheel with your other hand while you withdraw the axle. Gently set the wheel down and slowly roll it out of the way, being careful not to nick your forks or slam your rotors. Once it's out, store it upright or on wood blocks. Don't lay it down on the rotors, cuz zing, I mounted a new tire. Before installing the wheel, wipe and clean off the bearing seals on each side of the wheel. Wipe and clean off the axle and spacer. Lubricate the axle, spacer, and bearing seals with lithium-based grease. Reinstall the spacer and carefully maneuver the wheel between the forks. Lift up the wheel and reinsert the axle from the right side. Thread in the axle bolt and torque it to 37 foot-pounds or 50 Newton-meters. Reinstall the left brake caliper and wheel speed sensor. Torque the brake caliper bolts to 28 foot-pounds or 38 Newton-meters. I couldn't find the torque specs for the sensor. I just tightened it down snug. Reinstall the right caliper. And it goes without saying, but be careful here and go slow. You don't want to scratch the wheels. Again, torque the bolts to 28 foot-pounds or 38 Newton-meters. With the calipers on, it's time to give your brakes a squeeze. This will realign the wheel, rotors, and brake calipers. Now go ahead and tighten down the axle clamp bolts, alternating from one side and the other to minimize any offsetting that might occur. Tighten them until you feel it stop. Then go back with the torque wrench, 14 foot-pounds or 19 Newton-meters here. And that's done. Lower your bike down and go for a rip. Thanks for watching. Ride safe out there. Peace.